Okay, finally we're gonna do another campaign review. This time we're gonna feature Nakai. I did go to the second turn just to show the small armies and the buildings they're gonna get, but let's go quickly through the faction effects. Nakai has been on a roller coaster. He was starting on Albion, if I'm not mistaken. Now he's on Cathay. He's really wandering around the map. That is nice. I don't think there is any other Lizardman faction that has Horde factions plus normal factions. I think the Lizardmen are unique to that. He is a very different campaign than the usual Lizardmen, but let's go and check his faction. Nakai is a Horde unlock units. Nakai's Horde unlock units, while other Hordes use global recruitment to get access to it. This is how he recruits. I'm gonna show that in a minute. Nakai is vassals occupy the settlements. You don't really occupy any settlements, you just give them to the vassal and you devote them to one of the 3 gods, I believe they are. You have immunity to diplomatic penalties from trespassing. This is because you're a Horde faction, that's okay. And you have Lord recruitment rank for Kroxigors. Now, Kroxigors are not the best Lord, or no, they're not a bad Lord either. They do have Siege Attacker from the get-go, and they are a huge beat sticks. They can go up against a lot of things. The same goes for Nakai. He's one of the best melee fighters that the Lizardmen have to offer. And let's go check his skills very quickly. He gives recruitment cost for Kroxigors and Sacred Kroxigors. I would prefer if it was upkeep, but he gets enough from his faction. That's one reason he's not that great to Confederate, but we'll come back to that. Melee defense +5 for Kroxigors and Sacred Kroxigors and Woodsman. Now, the Woodsman attribute is your units can pass through trees. It's not the Strider that straight up removes the negatives. You still get the negatives from being in jungle for the large entities, but you can at least move through them. That's very nice, especially for the Stegadon that you have on your army. You have some vigorous reduction, that's only for him. You have charge bonus, weapon strength, and this ability is insane. You have magic attacks, and the enemy loses the demonic attribute. I cannot stretch how broken this is. If you remove the demonic attribute that gives physical resistance and fear and terror to the demons, they have pretty much nothing. They are worse than Marauders. Like, it is insane. He gets more melee attacks, he gets discourage effect, he gets melee defense. He's a power to be reckoned with. Like, on the battlefield, he's as strong as Mundi, if Mundi doesn't have spells, I guess. He's much stronger than Gorok. I don't know why everybody loves Gorok. Gorok is just a beat stick that is eventually gonna die, but Nakai is not only not gonna die, he's also gonna deal like a lot of damage. He does give frenzy to the Kroxigors and speed for his whole army. That's fine, okay. Some casualty replenishment and horde growth. You only benefit for the horde growth if you have him on your faction. Like, if you're playing as Nakai, if you confederate him, you don't really get that. And you have Vanguard deployment and Unbreakable. Now, this is okay. It's not super crazy. It's not super bad either. His items is casualty replenishment. And it is passive that gives 10% damage resistance plus vigor per second. That is for all the allies that are near Nakai. This is very powerful as a passive. That's why he's pretty much unstoppable on the battlefield. And you have, on the set effect, you have magic item top chance and horde growth. Now, this is kind of mech. You do want to do this quickly, but he is not like the best lord to confederate to. If you're playing with everyone else other than Nakai, I wouldn't really prioritize him unless you can just, take him. You just found him randomly or whatever. That's his only negative. Okay, he starts with a King Priest. Not the best hero, not the worst hero, but it is a spellcaster. I would prefer an Oracle or even a King Chief. I know the King Chief is not a spellcaster, but he does have replenishment. It will help, kinda, although Nakai can always go into the Gambit stance, which gives him replenishment in friendly and neutral territory. I guess for him specifically, a King Priest is nice. I would prefer an Oracle still, but King Priest is nice. His army is insane, that's for a start. You do have a lot of big boys, you have a Stegadon, you have some Kroxigors, you buff the Kroxigors quite a bit. Now, the way his faction works is you unlock the buildings normally with Nakai, like you should on pretty much every other Lizardman faction. Pretty much everything is the same. You get the King's Priest, the Oracles. You get, I think the +1 for Oracles is on... Yeah, the +1 capacity for Oracles is on the tier 5, but you don't really worry about that. You also get some movement range and upkeep reduction for his horde. I think every army gets some upkeep reduction from the horde buildings. You also buff some Kroxigors even more. You giving him a Kroxigor Doomstack is gonna make him insane. Now, you don't start with this building. I just built it because I needed to show the second army. but you have some upkeep reduction, some casualties, some more armies. You do need a second army, because as long as you have a second army pretty much anywhere hidden on an ambush, you cannot really lose the campaign. That's why his campaign is kind of easy and might put some people off. But he is very, very strong overall. Even if you don't, play it safe with an army hidden somewhere, you can still dominate the campaign. You have minus 10% upkeep and horde growth, more horde growth and recruitment cost, and spawn sequence. This is a decent way to get spawn sequence when you have your armies going on, because even the small armies gets this. You get a decent spawn sequence per turn. With 2 armies, you can get like a Sting every turn, a Kroxigor every 3, or a Secret Kroxigor every 4 turns. It's not super... you're not swimming in spawn sequence, but you're not deprived of spawn sequence either. You can get a lot of blessed units. I think on the campaign that we did, I was getting blessed horned ones, and the biggest negative or the biggest bottleneck is gonna be how quickly you get the blessed units, because you cannot really spawn them. You can from the faction mechanic. Actually, let's go for the faction mechanic. Now, whenever you occupy settlement, you just give it to one of the 3. If it is a big settlement, I think you get +3. If it is a small settlement, I think you get +1, and you need 35 or 32, something like that. I don't remember how many points you need to unlock all these bonuses. Now, the reason he is kind of strong is because of these 3. The more you invest into one god, the more bonuses you get. For example, you get +10% missile resistance for Kroxigors, for all armies. Then you get melee defense, then you get the ability, the protection of Quets, then you get some ward save for stuff, and on the end you have pretty much everything with casualty replenishment and diplomatic relationship with the Lizardmen, which is insane. Like these buffs, Temple Guards, Kroxigors, and Soros, so much. And on top of that, you have the normal technology tree, so you can buff them insanely high. Now, the last one is a little bit of research, another spell ability, and more magic. Again, you get the diplomatic relationships. But my favorite one is this. Nakai is the only faction in the game that buffs the riders, that buffs the cav on the Lizardmen so much. I know it's not the best way to play. Probably going for Kroxigor is the best one, but I do like the cav, and I do like the horned ones and the gold ones. And he buffs them quite a lot. He gives them melee attack, charge bonus, recruit rank for everything, weapon strength, and you also have an ability to spawns the Salamanders, I think, or it was the other one, the Razordons, I don't remember. Now, you can immediately use one of these abilities if you have the sequence of the whatever this is, I don't remember the name of the resource, to spawn one of the heroes that you want. You increase the capacity and you just spawn them immediately if you want heroes. He's never gonna really run out of heroes because of his secondary armies. You also have some big buffs, some global buffs like the raids. Income from post-battle, you get horde growth and vanguard and tributes from the vassals. You get some attrition when under siege. That's kind of meh. Leadership and melee defense. You also can force the blessed units if you are running out, if you don't have enough on stock and you just need, I don't know, like a cold one, like a horned one or something, you just can click this one. You get 70 spawn sequence, plus you get a blessed one. It's not the best way to use it, but if you're swimming in that resource, after some point you are gonna be the old one's favor. You can click it, you can use it. You mainly need that resource to unlock technologies, and I do believe this main line on the technologies is something that you really need to be focusing in. Getting extra tribute and growth on the beginning, because you do get some growth, you get some immunities to snow attrition, but you get the tribute going up. Casualty replenishment is also nice. This is very powerful. You do really need that. As for his technologies, it has been reworked again. And I do believe this is the best iteration that we have of the technology tree of Nakai, because now you can focus the units separately from his faction line and you can get this one. I think you could get this one on a line anyways, but in order to get, for example, the buffs for the Skinks or the buffs from the Kroxigors, you have to start, you used to have to start from buffing like every unit on recruit rank and then you go to the actual buffs. Now this is much better, you can focus what you want. There are technologies like this one that is only on one turn, or two, I don't remember. Maybe two, I don't remember. But yeah, it's rather cheap, you can focus on exactly what you want. He doesn't give all the buffs to the Shinx that the other factions do, but you're fine with that. It's not that big of a deal. I think it's the same for the big guys, but the Cav either gets a little bit more or it gets exactly the same buffs. I don't remember. Although you do have your faction effects that, boost all of them above everyone else. He has the strongest army from pretty much everyone, I believe. I don't think anyone else can buff their units so much. Even Tachenoin, yeah, he does give 10% physical resistance and armor, but that's only it. I don't think he can buff the cold ones with the faction mechanics that you get from Nakai over here. This is a lot. This is charge bonus, melee attack, weapon strength, plus you have melee defense, missile resistance, ward save, and casualty replenishment. This is nice, this is okay. I still believe Tachenoin is stronger, but he definitely buffs his units quite a bit, and he's probably the best faction to go with Cav armies if you want to play with that. And obviously Kroxigors. Kroxigors are going to be his best, but Cav armies is definitely a nice second. Now, over up here, you have extra armies, you have blessed pool capacity, best spawning pool capacity. That's okay, that's not something insane. You do get armies as you go alongside this line. I would leave that for later. I would probably go for buffing Kroxigors and maybe Skinks or Cav or whatever you want to play with. If you want to play, you can play with everything. And getting the Horde expands, like this one is a line that you really, really need to do. As long as you have the old one's favor, you probably should focus on this one. There are some very nice things over here, as the amount of spawn sequence and by rights, the replenishment after you winning a battle. This one is kind of meh, not gonna lie. But getting extra armies over here is nice. Like, more armies you have, the more of these buildings you're gonna have. This is 5% less upkeep, but this is the big part. This is why I wanted to show the small army, because the small armies can get hero capacity and hero recruitment. This is insane. I don't think there is any other lizardman that can summon so many Sking Oracles. Nakai probably has the most Sking Oracles in the game, just because every army can spawn a Sking Oracle. So if you have this, and if you upgrade Nakai's up to the maximum, or if you go over here and what was it? Yeah, that's for the army capacity. Was it over here? Do we get a Sking Oracle from this? I don't remember. I don't think we do. Ah, yeah, we do get Sking Oracle. So if you use this one, you can effectively have more Sking Oracles than you have armies, which is insanely powerful. Now, the way the small armies work is you build these buildings and you globally recruit from Nakai if you want to recruit something. Brain, please. So if you go here and recruit, you globally recruit from Nakai, and if you have built the buildings that reduces the recruitment duration, you can effectively recruit them fairly quickly, very, very quickly, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know if it becomes less than the normal recruitment, but it is still an okay mechanic. You do get some upkeep reduction more, some growth more, some spawn sequence. He does have a lot of spawn sequence in general. He's okay. And that was pretty much it I want to say about... Oh, no, wait. Nakai's starting position. Yeah, Nakai's starting position. So his starting position is... The first battle seemed difficult, but you can destroy it. If you destroy the first two battles, then the campaign is effectively over, because nothing else around here is gonna be enough to stop you. Like, you just go up and destroy Rakath. You can go down and destroy Dakala before she does anything. Not Rakath, I'm sorry, Lokir. And your victory objectives is effectively destroy Lokir and the two undead factions over here, and then destroy Lokir, the undead factions, Clan Essence, the Kersling, Gorst, Kugath, and Clan Pestilence. Clan Pestilence is probably the worst target. Having both Kugath and Pestilence is not exactly nice. I would probably remove Pestilence, but it gives you a reason to go back in Lastria, which is fine. It is not that far away. You just jump into here, and you are spawned roughly around here. Yeah, actually, exactly here. You spawn over here, so you can go up and destroy Pestilence. It's not that far away. Just remember to get more armies, get these heroes going, because you can have all the heroes on all of your armies. This is nice. But overall, he is a powerhouse. He doesn't really have many enemies. The demons are not going to be a match to him. You have an incumbent stance on max movement range. Effectively, you don't lose movement range to go into incumbent stance, which makes him very, very powerful. You can go up into the Chaos Waste and destroy everything, and you don't care because you still get replenishment. You get 5% extra replenishment on friendly and neutral or enemy territories. I don't know why they just mentioned everything. They could have just said plus 5% replenishment, but anyways. This makes him so powerful because nothing effectively can deal damage to you terrain-wise. You don't have to care about Chaos Waste. Also, one more thing is that if you occupy a settlement and give it to the vassal, actually you do give it to the vassal, the AI tends to prioritize attacking you. So if you have an army nearby, it will prioritize attacking the army and not the settlement, which means you can force them into some very nasty ambushes. So if you play with a couple of ambushes, if you play a little bit careful in the beginning, Nakai is just a force that just cannot be stopped. And he just buffs some of my favorite units so much. So much. It is insane. Like both, either you go Kroxigors or, with the Beast, you do buff them. You do buff them so much. Probably his kings are the weakest kings, but that's fine. Not everyone has to play with the same stuff. So about where I'm gonna put him on the everyone is in B on the tier list, I think I'm gonna put him on A. Now I know this is such a big difference from Warhammer 2, but that's how much he have changed. He is a very nice lord. He does buff some units that the rest lords don't. He is super unique. He's a horde faction on a normal faction. I don't think any other race does that. And the only downside of him is that he doesn't give that much if he gets confederated, which is fine. It is fine, really. I think this is exactly what I wanted from an A-tier campaign. Like having something different than the rest, something that is not a copy-paste of everyone else, because all of these four do feel roughly the same. Oh wait, let me go back 1 second. I think I didn't show that. We do have the rights, but we have one Kroxigor right. We don't have we don't have the Skink Army, the right of Sotek, if I'm not mistaken, but we do have this one for Kroxigors, which is okay. I mean, his faction is moved away from Skinks. He's more Kroxigor oriented. You can still get some Skinks to get the passive to trigger, but both Skinks and Kroxigors do have a passive that trigger with each other if they're nearby. But going full Kroxigors does work for him. That is not a bad thing. You do have the Primeval Glory army, but it's a little bit different. You don't get that. You give that to your vassal. You can use that if you have that. Like, it does cost you favor of the old ones, but it's fine. Mostly you're gonna be using this too. But yeah, overall, I do believe he is an A tier. I do believe he's much different than everyone else, and he is strong. Most people are gonna be put off by how easy his campaign is, because after you beat the first settlements, not even Takala, like the first two settlements, he just doesn't stop. Like, he just doesn't stop. Takala is not gonna be a threat most of the time. Your only threat is missiles, but he is super fast. He has like 50 movement speed, and with the 10% extra movement speed he gets from his unique line, you can boost that to 55. He's very fast. He can make his Kroxigors okayly fast, like almost 50% movement speed on a Kroxigor is good. 50% is almost a cav, by the way. Usually infantry has 30 to 40. But yeah, overall, I do believe he's much different than the rest, and different enough in a good way that he buffs different units. He has a nice mechanic. Not too interactable, but you still have some things that you can use. You can choose which way you're gonna go, either Kroxigors and Soros or Temple Guards, or just with Beasts and Cav. And that is for Nakai. So I don't think I have anything else to say about him. He's a very nice campaign. He came from D tier all the way up to A. I think he stands on a very nice position. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.